In St. Paul, Minnesota, 21 officers were hurt during a rally, with calls for peace and justice growing louder in protests and vigils across the country.
Right around when a lot of the police shootings were happening across the country, I knew the heart of our officers and how that was affecting them and their ability to work. And I also knew the people in the communities and the divide that was growing. Our police chief at the time said, we need to have some way to bridge this gap. We can't do it, but you can. At that moment in time, we were called to serve, to be a bridge and bring people together in a way that they could talk honestly and openly about these hurtful and harmful and divisive issues.
The demographics here in Hopkins is about 30% people of color, and with that we've got 46 languages spoken in our school system.
The demographics in our Hopkins community has been changing dramatically from a predominantly white middle-class community even 15 years ago to something very diverse racially, socially, economically, and religiously.
This whole conversation really did start out of a speaker series that we had at one of our local churches, Gethsemane Lutheran Church.
They offered a workshop on Let's Talk About Race. The community seemed hungry to have an opportunity to talk about race in a way they've never been allowed to in the past.
People of color have been having these conversations for many years. We can't continue to have these separate conversations. We need to do this together.
The city, the school district, and Gethsemane Church decided to launch an initiative.
The Hopkins Race Equity Initiative, we were very clear about what we wanted to do and how we wanted to deliver it to the community.
The Hopkins Race Equity Initiative has hosted a number of community conversations over the last few years. Primarily, they focused on race, how to talk about race with your neighbors. We hosted a session on white privilege, and then most recently, we're hosting a conversation on civility.
We've actually been astonished by the level of participation here in our community, and we had to change venues because we've continued to grow.
As a school, we've tried to have conversations that break a barrier of fear. Seeing that fear, that is a barrier that stops the police from doing their jobs and minorities from feeling safe.
We knew it would be really important to have student involvement and student voice as a part of those conversations. So at the very first one, we invited students from Hopkins High School, HHS Response, to come and be table hosts.
Being a table host meant leading conversations about race. Being able to, not only lead but also listen was very incredible and important. Not only changing my perspective, but also watching them kind of change their own.
One of the goals was really for community residents to create their own opportunities to build relationships.
I'm a part of a Nextdoor app in my neighborhood. There was a post that got my attention from a woman from Hopkins. I responded to her and I said, would you like to get together sometime and talk about racial issues in our community? And she responded and said yes. About 10 other people from our neighborhood also joined that same conversation. And so we set up an evening at my home and we invited people and they came. And we had a really important conversation in my living room.
Hopkins Public Schools hosted a number of parenting sessions. The faith community has hosted a number of topics from the pulpit around race and equity. As a part of Raspberry Days, we now have a multicultural celebration. And finally, we have hosted a book read with a number of opportunities for people to come and gather and talk about the book.
I think some of the outgrowth of community conversations has been a willingness for people to get to know their neighbors.
I think it only takes a few stories to change someone's view of race.
I need to be present at the table so that others can see their place there as well.
We can begin to really change the culture within our community to make it more inclusive for all of our residents.
I am so hopeful that we can build this community and show the nation that being divisive and being polarized around race and gender and politics can be overcome.